What's your ultimate goal when you're networking? I'm Greg. I'm the Introverted Networker. And today I want to talk a little bit about what our goals are when we're networking and how we can connect with people to reach those goals. I read a book recently called The 20-Minute Networking Meeting, and it's by Marcia, Ballinger, and Nathan Perez. I had never heard of this book before until one of my networking contacts recommended it to me. I read this book, I came across a sentence that really stuck out to me, and it was that networking is about your ultimate goal, not immediate gratification. It really highlighted to me how when we're networking, we have to think about what are we trying to do in the long run? What is your ultimate goal? Because I often get emails from my newsletter readers, and they'll say things like, I don't know who to connect with to find a job. I don't know how to get in touch with the decision makers. I don't know anybody that's important enough to take action. These are actual things that people have written back to me when I ask them what their biggest networking challenge is. Now, whenever I get that, a lot of times what I start talking to them about is, well, don't worry about who you're going to find to network with. Start with people who you already know. But this quote really stuck with me because too often when we're networking, all we want to do is jump to that one person and get to the person who's going to give us exactly what we want right now. It just doesn't work that way. It's going to take a lot longer for you to get in touch with the person who can be the decision maker, to take action, to make you the offer for the new job, or get you connected with the person to give you the interview or help you with that business opportunity you're looking for. You're not just going to search and find that one person and then do some amazing cold outreach to that person so they suddenly say, oh, I want to help you. This is something that's going to take a little bit of time. What it makes me think of is a couple of studies by MIT that I've come across over the years that relate to networking, specifically to networking. The first one came out in 2011, and it's one that I talk about all the time. I talked about it in my book. I heard about it when I read Give and Take by Adam Grant. I've talked about it before in the newsletter, and it's an MIT Sloan Management School study on the power of dormant ties. If you've read any of my stuff, if you follow the newsletter, follow my posts, I always talk about reconnecting with your dormant ties. And in this study that they did, they asked executives to get in touch with people they'd lost touch with over the years. Now, these were people they'd worked with, and then those people went to get other jobs and they'd lost touch with them. And the study creators asked them to get back in touch with some of those people. And they did, and a lot of people reconnected with them and responded to their outreach. They were actually surprised how many people did, but they did because they trusted them. Now, these are what I would say are stronger ties. And what I mean by stronger ties is what I just said. The people trusted them. The people worked with them in the past. The people went on to work somewhere else. When these executives reached out, it was a familiar name, and the person said, oh, I remember that person. I'm going to respond to the email they sent and see what's up with them. There's a bit of trust there. Remember, they know who you are. It's not cold outreach. So they're going to respond. So these are stronger ties. And I talked about this back in one of my earlier issues of my newsletter, the strong ties versus weak ties. And I'll get to the weak ties part in a minute. But the strong ties are people who will respond when you reach out. These are also your dormant ties because you don't talk to them very often. You don't work with them today. You probably don't see them very often. But you can get back in touch with them. So remember dormant ties, stronger ties. And remember, anytime I tell you to start, when you're starting to network and you don't know where, I always say start with who you know. And it's almost always these dormant ties that you're going to reach out to. Okay. Dormant ties are one kind of tie, strong ties. Then MIT did another study in 2022 where they said, if you're going to find a job, it's probably going to come from a weak tie, not one of your stronger ties. And what they meant by weak ties is they said the people who will actually have the job you want or have the ability to get you into the interview you want, it's going to be somebody you don't know as well. It's going to be somebody who you have been put in touch with by somebody else, somebody you share a connection with. That means that the person who works, who's the recruiter or the hiring manager or the person who can get you into the company and get you that interview, is going to be somebody you haven't met yet. But you're going to meet them because you're going to get introduced to them. Well, who are you going to introduce you to them? Probably one of your dormant ties. So these two studies kind of contradict each other if you read them at face value and you don't think of the whole networking process. On one hand, dormant ties are people who will reconnect with you and help you out. Weak ties are the ones who are going to get you what you ultimately want. Okay, let's go back to the quote from the beginning. What's your ultimate goal, right? Networking is about what you ultimately want, not what you want today. Those weak tie people, though, can't be just accessed on cold outreach. You need to get introduced. And so the way this works is if you are looking for who to connect with, you should be connecting with your dormant ties first. The study proves it that they're going to respond. They're going to probably be more willing to help you. And when they do help you, they're going to introduce you to somebody you don't know who probably is going to become a weak tie. And that's the person who, according to the second study, is going to help you get the opportunities that you're looking for. Now, it's not always a one jump and you're into the weak tie. You might reach out to a dormant tie who says you need to talk to this person, and you start to talk to that person and they say you need to talk to this person. It might take a little bit of time in order to establish those relationships, or at least have enough conversations to get you to the weak tie who's going to get you what you ultimately want. That's how it works. That's really how networking works. And I found a lot of great insights in this book, The 20-Minute Networking Meeting. I highly recommend you pick it up. It's a very quick read, very actionable advice. It gives you a plan on how to have the networking meetings. So if you're thinking, I don't know what to say in a networking meeting, I've talked a little bit about some of the steps there where you want to show up, take care of all the logistics, make it easy for the person to have the meeting with you. You want to talk about them, find out what's going on with them, find a way to help them, give them ideas, advice, your attention. And then when they say, how can I help you or what can I do for you? You're very specific about what companies you want to work for or what opportunities you're looking at or who you could be introduced to. And that's the meeting, right? This book lays out kind of a similar approach, but a little bit different, but highlights a lot of the same things. It came out in 2012. I could have totally used this book when I was searching for a job the first time. I lost my job the first time in 2012, and would have loved to have read this book. Would have helped me so much, but I just came across it 12 years later. So recommending to you so you can take advantage of it. But that's what I want to talk about today is how think long-term of when you don't feel like you can meet people or you're not connecting with the right people, think about who those people ultimately are, but then work through the network you have to try to get introduced to somebody who could be one of those weak ties. I hope that helps clear up the issue of I don't really know anybody. You do know people. You're ultimately going to meet the people that you need to meet if you get out there, start connecting, having some of these conversations. I hope that helps. Please subscribe to this YouTube channel, subscribe to my newsletter, reach out to me if you have any questions. I'm here to help. Let me know how it goes. In the meantime, go out there, meet some interesting people, always be connecting.